Hello, let's have another story with NanNan. Are you all sitting comfortably? Then I'll begin. This story is called Just Awful. I wonder what is just so awful. But anyway, this story is by Alma Marshak Whitney with the illustrations, that's the pictures, by Lillian Hoban. Just awful. It was just after lunch when it happened. James cut his finger in the school playground. It hurt and it bled a little. James felt just awful. Poor James. There he is in his playground with his sore finger, look. He went to see his teacher, Mrs. Smith. What happened? She said. I cut my finger, said James. It is bleeding a little and it hurts too. Oh, said Mrs. Smith. I see. Well, how do you feel? And there's Mrs. Smith, the teacher, look, sitting at her desk. She's got a nice little pot of flowers on her desk too. I feel just awful, said James. I think you'd better see the nurse, said Mrs. Smith. I will write a note for you so that you can go straight away. James felt worse than ever. He'd never been to see the nurse before. He was scared. There he is, look, with his sore finger that he's cut. And now he's got to go and see the school nurse. When James got to the nurse's room, he sat down next to a stomachache and a sore toe. That's what the other children had, look. There they are. So one of them has a sore toe and one of them has a tummy ache. Now, can you see which one's which? This little boy here, he's holding his tummy, so I guess he's got the tummy ache. And this little girl here, she's got her shoe and sock off, so I expect she's the sore toe. The stomachache went in to see the nurse, and James was left with the sore toe. So there they are, look. That's the little boy that's gone off to see the nurse, and there's James sitting with the girl with the sore toe. Then the stomachache came out of the nurse's room, and he had a big smile on his face. Oh, I wish I had a stomachache instead of a cut finger, thought James. There's the little boy and he's smiling now. I expect that's because his tummy ache is better. The nurse came to the door and asked the sore toe to come inside. Now there's the nurse. She looks just the part, doesn't she? Because she's got a white nurse's dress on and she's got a nurse's cap. So the school nurse is dressed like a nurse in a hospital even. Sometimes they are, although sometimes in some schools I expect they're not dressed like that. I expect they've just got ordinary clothes. The sore toe went in to see the nurse. Now James was left all alone and things were at their worst. So there, he's all alone. I think it's even worse when you're not feeling well and you're all alone. Then the sore toe came out of the nurse's room and she had a big smile on her face. Oh, I wish I had a sore toe instead of a cut finger, thought James. There's a little girl and she's all better. Look at that big smile on her face. And then the nurse came to the door and asked James to come inside. There she is, look, she's put her head through the door and she's probably saying, is James there? James with the sore finger? Well, what happened to you, James? Said the nurse. She was a jolly nurse. So James told her the whole story. He told her about the playground and his finger and about how he felt just awful. And there he is telling the nurse all about it. And sometimes when you tell somebody all about it, that's the beginning of feeling better. The nurse examined the finger very carefully. "Oh, I think you're going to be all right," smiled the nurse. "But I would like to give you a 3-part treatment, just in case." "The what?" said James, and he hid his hands behind his back. There she is, look, she's examining his finger, having a good look at it. And then she said she wants to give him the 3-part treatment. I wonder what a 3-part treatment is. That means 3 things he's going to have to make him feel better. Let's see what they are. "It's not that bad at all," the nurse said, and she led James to the sink. "The first part is cleaning," said the nurse, and she put his finger under some warm water. There they are at the sink, and she's running his finger under some warm water. So that's nice, isn't it? That's a nice first part of the treatment. The finger was not bad at all. The finger did not hurt, and it was just a little warm and wet. And there he is, look, looking at his finger, thinking, that's not so bad. The nurse took a great big sticking plaster out of her box. There you are, she's got a box of things there that will help to make the children better, and she's got a big sticking plaster. "Next comes the bandaging," she said, and she wrapped the great big sticking plaster around the finger until James could hardly see it anymore. So there he is, look, he's got a sticking plaster over his finger. James was really feeling much better. "And now," said the nurse, "the most important part of all." There he is, look, he's got his finger all bandaged and he's feeling a lot better. And there's the nurse. She's finished her treatment, but there's one more part left. The most important part, she says. "Are you sure it's so important?" said James. He had no idea what would happen next. And he started feeling awful again. That's because he didn't know what was coming. There. And he's saying, "Do I really have to have something else?" Because he wasn't sure what it was going to be. "Oh, yes, it's very important," said the nurse. "Now come over here and I will give it to you." There she is, look, sitting on the stool. James started walking very slowly towards the nurse. What would become of him? Just as he got to the nurse and reached out to James, and she gave him a great big... She got her arms out. What do you think? She gave him a great big hug. Can you see that? A hug. And a hug makes it all feel better, doesn't it? "Oh boy," laughed James. "Yippee! I feel terrific," said James. There he is, and he does. He feels terrific. "Well, I think you can go back to your class now," said the nurse. And when James got back to his class, Mrs. Smith asked him how he felt. There she is, look, there's his teacher, Mrs. Smith, and she's saying, "Oh, look, James is back from the nurse. How do you feel?" "I think I'm going to be all right," said James. There he is. He looks all right, doesn't he? He thinks he's going to be all right, which is just jolly good. Lovely. That was a good story, wasn't it? Nothing to fear if you've got a sore finger. Just go and get it looked at, get it cleaned, put a bandage on, and have a nice big hug, and it's all better. And that's all for that one.